Hi Facebook, how are you doing? It's been a long time since I've done a Facebook Live on my personal page, but the word of the year, I guess, is unprecedented. So unprecedented times calls for an unprecedented Facebook Live. So yesterday I shared a series of posts because I have been getting a lot of messages from people who've been asking me what's going on, what's your take on it, what do you think? So I decided to tell my truth, even when your voice shakes, is what I tell people. And I shared a series of posts. On the back of that, I got a lot of messages asking me why I don't trust the government, what's my issue, don't you think they're out to protect us? They wouldn't let these things happen to us if they, for whatever reason, they wouldn't let these things happen to us. So I thought it'd be easier to come on and do a live just to say what my take is on that. And what my reasons, and there's 3 reasons why I really don't think they are out for our benefit. So the first reason is, goes back to 12 years ago, and 12 years ago I was a new mum and I took my eldest daughter to have her first set of baby jabs, and within 20 minutes after that she had a fit. It wasn't a febrile convulsion because she wasn't hot, she just fitted. And it was my mum, who was a government supporting NHS worker, that said to me, Jack, I think you need to look into the ingredients of what you've just given her. So down the rabbit hole I went 12 years ago, and I have never ever stopped researching since then. I have looked into studies, peer-reviewed studies. I've read documents. I've looked at books, many books by doctors and scientists. I have read many peer-reviewed studies. I've watched hours and hours of documentaries. I have documented all of my research. And this was before the advent of Facebook. When Facebook started, I joined lots of groups. I saw the damage that had been done to lots of children. I saw the compensation scheme, and I made the decision to never ever vaccinate my children again. I didn't trust. I thought that the science was largely unsettled. I didn't trust what was going into them, and I made that decision. As a repercussion of that, and when I started to speak out a little bit about that, I lost lots and lots of friends. I had to convince James that this was what was right for them. I had to convince family members too that this was what was right for them. And actually, as a consequence, most of my family will not even have a flu jab now because of what I have shown them. So that was planted the seed as to whether we should be trusting the government. That was what planted the seed for me. That reaction that my daughter had, the 12 years of research, which I've documented everything. If anybody wants it, message me. I'm happy to share what I've researched. And that's what planted the seed. The second thing, 5 years afterwards, I lost my mum and dad, as I wrote about in my book, Mind, Body, Miracle. I lost my mum and dad 5 days apart, which changed everything for me. Sometimes you have to go through something like that to have a massive expansion. And I changed my career as a consequence, and I started to study mind, hypnotherapy, body, nutrition and well-being. And as a consequence of studying nutrition, I started to look into things like ingredients in food, things that have been approved by the FDA. I then started to wonder why these things have been approved. Why have we got carcinogenic ingredients, cancer-causing ingredients in our food chain? Why have we got such a toxic world now? Why did the vaccine schedule suddenly treble in the 80s? Quadruple even? Why is there a lack of education about nutrition and well-being for our children in schools? And we've got so many obese children. Why is that? And I started to just really question everything. Why do natural cures get so vilified when they're natural? And then obviously I found out that in the early 1900s, a oil tycoon of all people, John Rockefeller, founded modern medicine and big pharma. He demonized homeopathy and herbs and natural medicine. In 1913, he founded the American Cancer Society, an oil tycoon. and then he also funded all the medical schools. And you know, why did he do this? When I started to piece this together, it was about money, it was about control, it was about keeping people undereducated, over medicated. It was about controlling society, really. I researched things like the bliss point. So the bliss point is when big manufacturers, you know, like Kellogg's and Cadbury's, and I wrote about this in the book too, they go into meetings and they look at the ingredients in the food to see what they need to put in the food to make it highly addictive, so you will buy more. I mean, I've read studies that if sugar came out today, it would be a class A drug. That is frightening because it's on every shelf in every food. I read a book called Beating the Food Giants by Paul Stitt. Paul Stitt used to work for Quaker Oats, so he talks about the kind of tricks that the food giants pull to get us to buy these foods and eat more. It's not about health. It's never been about our health. It's been about money. The whole of the food and medical industry has always been about money. Ansel Keys was a scientist that was paid, he'd done a study called the 5 Countries Study. He was paid by Coca-Cola to make sure that he vilified fat and not sugar. So then the British Heart Foundation have based all of their research on giving people advice about heart disease around fat, when it's actually not very much to do with fat, as we now know. So there is so much corruption. You've got to look at the fact that you've got companies that sell donuts giving a small proportion of their profit to cancer research. How incongruent is that? How have we got to where we've got to that is actually allowed to happen in society? No wonder why everyone's bloody confused. It's insane. So I think it's really clear to see when I just look at those two things that they're not on our side. They've never been on our side. This is about money and this is about control. I'm going to fast forward to today and how I believe the government are handling what's going on today. So I've seen things, and this is the third thing, why I don't trust them. So I've seen people post on their statuses, I'm so proud of our government, they've stepped up to the plate, they're helping us, they're handing out the money and they're going to support us. I'd just like to know, number one, where is this money coming from in the first place? Number two, will there be conditions for us to access this money? So will they say you can only have access to this money if you have complied with X, Y, and Z? And what are those conditions going to be? Because I believe this is a surge to make a cashless society, and they control all of the purse strings. And you have to comply. You have to be a good little girl or boy to get access to that. And how will we pay this money back in the first? How are we going to end up paying this money back? There has to be some kind of payback, surely. And if they do have this abundance of money, why are they throwing it in our direction and they're not throwing it in the direction of the hospitals where there is a clear lack of respirators? And we've had doctors coming forward saying we're having to make some really difficult choices, and people over the age of 65 won't get a respirator because there's not enough of them. So surely that should be a priority. NHS staff coming out and saying we need better protection, our life's on the line, we haven't got masks, but they want to throw money towards us. That doesn't make sense to me. That's not got our best interests at heart. And you know, just the kits, that's where the money should be going. Why in 2020 is all the advice we've been given is wash your hands while you sing happy birthday and stay at home? That's the same advice that was dished out in the 14th century when they were going through the plague. Surely we have moved on a little bit since then in terms of advice. Why aren't we being told and educated on things you can do to support your lungs during this respiratory attack? Because as a holistic health practitioner, I know that there is a lot of things that you can do and you can take to support your lung function. And you know why I know this? I lost my mum to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. I know it now. I didn't know it then, unfortunately, but I know it now. There are immune things you can take to support your body. Look at China. China started to give out intravenous vitamin C and it had profound effects. They're now trying to vilify intravenous vitamin C. And I even saw an article about don't take advice from people that are offering holistic remedies for coronavirus. Really? When all of you've got is wash your hands and stay at home? Really? And you think that they've got our best interests at heart. They haven't. I'm so sorry to tell you, and I wish that I was wrong, but they haven't, and they never have, and they haven't for the last century. Things changed drastically 100 years ago when it all became about money, control and power. And I'm sorry that this is fact, but it is. I really wish it wasn't, but it is. If you just look at the NHS leaflet, I posted it on my page a few days ago. The NHS leaflet about combating coronavirus tells you to make sure you get a lot of dairy in your diet, a mucus-forming food. There are some top holistic naturopathic doctors that actually commented on that post and was like, I cannot believe this is the advice being given out. It's outrageous. Wake up, people. They don't have our best interests at heart here. I can promise you that just from what I have been seeing over the last few weeks. But 12 years of research into this stuff, I know wholeheartedly they don't. So why have they not closed off licenses? That's another thing. They've got our best interests at heart, but they want you to stay at home and drink yourself into oblivion. Let me explain to you why they want you to do that. Because they want you dumbed down. They want you inebriated. They want you poisoned. They want you fearful with everything they're putting on the news. They want you obedient. They want you controllable. And then it makes their life so much more easier. This is what it's about. Look what's going on in the background. Look at the 358-page bill that was put through by the government last week, the COVID-19 bill. That basically rips away every single one of our human rights. And this is all being done while we are sitting at home drinking because they left off licenses open because they really care about us, don't they? Come on, people. This is why I don't support or believe them. This is why I haven't for a very long time. I think that all we need to do right now is stay alert, question everything. I've posted some more stuff on my page today about the real stats. Doesn't look like death rates have actually gone up at all in comparison to last year. I don't remember there being a pandemic last year, do you? Start to question everything. Unless we start waking up and questioning everything, it's scary what they could possibly have planned for us. Seriously. I've never been more frightened than I am right now because I know stuff that I've been researching for a very long time, and I know that there's other people that are exactly the same. The only way that this is going to stop if we stand up and start questioning what the hell is going on. Power to the people, come on, find that strength, question everything. And my message to all those light workers out there, light workers, stand up, find your voice, even when it shakes like mine is right now. Please, you know what I know, and we have to start putting information out there because people are actually looking for it now. The messages I've had where people were saying something's odd, something's adrift, something's going on. I'm getting angry faces, and I know that I'm going to get angry faces because people don't like the truth. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of friends drop off my Facebook. That is fine. You're clearly not ready to hear this right now. And that is absolutely fine. The truth does hurt. I'm sorry. It does. But the stats do not lie. So please share this video. If you think people are ready to hear it, please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying what I know and what I've known in my heart for the last 12 years. And please start questioning everything because now is the time. Do it before it's too late. Stay safe, stay well, and look after yourself and each other.